Good morning. Welcome to the Faith Spring channel. I wanted to take a few minutes and share an idea that kind of came up in conversation this week. Now, I have the opportunity to meet some really cool people in the Christian field. So, other authors, professors, speakers, and just the avenue that I'm in, these people kind of cross paths, and I get to pick their brains and pull out some good info and share it with you. And one of the things we were talking about is how the journey looks, or how does that change, when you're just starting out, when you're just stepping into the thing that you want to do, that you think you can do, that you're called to do, versus 5, 10, 15 years down the road, when you've been doing that thing, when you're recognized as an expert in that field, when your name has recognition around it. What changes occur? What do you look like? What does your message look like? What things are different? What things are consistent? And there's one truth that just kept coming up. And I just want to share this sentence with you, and then we'll kind of pull it apart and explain it. So the sentence: the validity of your ideas does not depend upon the size of your audience. I'm going to say that again. The validity of your idea does not depend upon the size of your audience. Now, this is something that's very felt in the Christian culture, one way or another, because when a local pastor or someone who has a congregation of maybe 50 and they're preaching something, the people who hear that may or may not take it as seriously as if someone who has a megachurch, who has a gigantic following online, says the same thing. We give importance differently based on the size of audience so often. And this is very much like an internet phenomenon of us seeing it in these micro niches online, but for Christianity, this has been a thing we've done for centuries, since the beginning. The people who had the biggest followings, their voice ended up being the loudest, for better or worse, whether or not what they were saying was actually true. But how does that apply to us? How can we take that and use that beneficially? And the first thing is that the validity of your idea, that thing that you believe, that thing that you want to share, that you promote, whether you're sharing that to 5 people or 500 or 5,000, your idea has validity in itself. And this is one thing, when I was saying I meet with different people, this is one thing that comes up, because when they were unknown versus when they were known, so often many things haven't changed. They've been sharing the same message, perhaps even in the same way, but people take it more seriously now because of that time, because of that consistency, because of the growth of their platform. And so don't think that you haven't reached the point because your idea isn't correct. Don't think that you're not on the right track, or that you're not getting traction because there's something fundamentally wrong with your idea. The validity of your idea, the core of what you believe, of what you're pushing, that can be perfectly sound and just not get traction yet. It could just not be catching on the way you think it should. That doesn't mean it won't, and that doesn't mean you should undersell the idea that you have. On the flip side of that, the size of your audience, the size of an audience, often determines how much importance we put into the ideas that they share. And we should be careful to pay attention to that, because people with big audiences still have bad ideas. Not all of their ideas, not all of their teachings, not all of their beliefs are as sound as we may make them out to be. And we see this when large authors or large preachers and so on fall from grace in some way, and then their audience is somewhat in shock because they've put them on such a pedestal, because they allowed the audience to dictate the validity that they were giving them. So I hope that makes sense, that you, on your journey towards what you're doing, what you feel you're called to do, the idea that is motivating that is valid, that is true. You have a good idea. This is a good thing. Now, you need to believe that before you're sharing that to 5,000, 5 million people. Because until you are the biggest fan of that idea, until you are the biggest proponent and defender of that belief, that thing is never going to reach the stage, the platform that you imagine and dream that it could. And on the other end, when you are getting advice, or even when you reach that place where you have such a large audience that your ideas seem almost, impossibly correct all the time, don't forget that you need to question those assumptions, that the validity of your ideas does not depend on the size of your audience. So don't measure how good something is by how many people like it. That's not a good way to measure things. That is historically inaccurate. We see, these ideas catch on only to blow up when people realize, oh, this wasn't a good idea, even though it had lots of support, and vice versa. Sometimes the best ideas don't have much support at all and take a long time to gain traction and to gain the support they need to be shown as correct. So just a little brain dump on you today. Trust your ideas. Trust that the ideas God has given you, that the things you are called to share, to teach, to write, to sing, all of those avenues, that your idea is correct. And that as that idea gets proven over and over again, the audience will grow. But the audience is not the litmus test of how good your idea is. It just doesn't work like that. So trust your idea, promote that idea, defend that idea, and then work hard to share it. So thank you for this. I hope that you will subscribe to this channel and get some more kind of brain dumps like this of good ideas. The next video is going to be about how I network with some of the people I mentioned, authors, other artists in many different avenues, professors. How do I connect with these people, and how do I grow my network, especially in the Christian professional niche? So thank you again for spending a few minutes with me, and have a great day.